everybody. It's great to see you. Happy Palm Sunday. It's very exciting. Today is Palm Sunday. That means next week is Easter. And I am gearing up. We're going to be having a family brunch on Easter morning. And I am just so excited. So today what I'm going to show you is a wonderful pastry that you can have for breakfast or brunch or anytime during the day. And what these are is these are cream cheese and jam filled twists. And they are just to die for. I love making these. And these are made with my pastry dough recipe that's in my cookbook, I think on page 110 if I'm not mistaken. So let's get started. It's super easy. You'll be able to do it right at home, and it doesn't take a lot of the folding and the rolling that a lot of the pastry dough needs. This is a really kind of a quick recipe. Some of them you have to refrigerate, then you bring out, you put your butter mixture, and then you fold it, and then you roll it, and then you refrigerate it back and forth, back and forth. But this one is great. It's just only refrigerated for just one time, and then you're ready to go with your pastry dough, okay? So I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour in my food processor. You're gonna need a food processor for this, okay? So 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and you're going to need 1 1/4 cup of butter. Now I'm using salted butter, so my recipe isn't going to call for any additional salt. If you cook with unsalted butter, that's totally fine. Just put in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in with your flour. But like I said, I don't need to today because I'm using salted butter, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the 1/4 cup of cubed cold butter, okay? So you wanna put that in your food processor. And then what we're going to do is I am going to go ahead and put this cover on. I gotta get it right. And this, I'm just gonna pulse it, just a few times, okay? So probably, I don't know, I just kind of, just so that it starts to get mixed a little bit, okay? You wanna start that just so you get that going. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add the other butter. Now, that's 2.5 sticks total that you're going to need for this recipe. Now I just went ahead, and this is great because this is actually frozen because I buy up butter ahead of time to stick it in my freezer. So I took it out of the freezer yesterday and just kept it in my refrigerator, so it was still super cold this morning. So I was like, perfect. I was very excited about that. All right, so we're gonna put the cover back on, and now we're just gonna pulse it a few more times just to start it, incorporate it until it gets like the dough or the butter and the flour mixture want to be about pea size, okay? So you just want to do it until you see these all kind of pulse together, kind of pea size. All right, so that is looking pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. All right, perfect. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this on, and I have some ice water over here. Now I'm going to need 1/2 cup of cold ice water. Now I'm gonna put this, kind of drizzle this in as I go. I've got a 1/4 measuring cup here, and I'm just gonna kind of avoid the ice if I can. I could kind of spoon out that ice if I needed to. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to just slowly pour this in as I pulse. Okay, so I'm gonna start it with just a little bit, get it going, and then just keep the pulse going as you pour. Okay, and now I'm gonna do one more. Like I said, I probably should have scooped the ice out ahead of time. I always think about after, but you can kind of just do it that way. And slowly pour it in and pulse as you go. Now I need just a hair more because that wasn't quite a full 1/4 cup there because I had a couple of ice chips in there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour a little more. Perfect. Now you're just gonna keep pulsing it until the dough all comes together. It's so good. Now if it looks a little dry to you, you can add a little more water. It's completely up to you there. But mine looks pretty good. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna set this water down in my sink. I'm all done with that. And that's it. So now what I'm going to do is I have some plastic wrap, okay? Because now starts the refrigeration process. I'm gonna take out a generous piece and lay it on my counter. And don't need that anymore. This recipe is just, like I said, it's so easy to do. You don't need like big fancy. You can go ahead and go buy the puff pastry if you want to at the grocery store, but this will save you a lot of money. Okay, that stuff isn't cheap. No, not at all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna dump all this out onto my plastic wrap. Now it's gonna be crumbly and you're gonna say, well, this doesn't look very good. No, this is exactly what you want, okay? Now, if it feels too dry to you, well, then you can add a little bit more water, but the butter is really your key ingredient here, guys. Now I'm just gonna kind of scoop it up and just make kind of a, this is where your sandcastle skills come in, everybody. Just like building a sandcastle, right? So you're just gonna kind of bring in all the sides together and just make your big ball of dough. And then as you kind of press it down, you can pick up all of those little pieces of the drier parts that maybe didn't get quite mixed in like they needed to. And I just kind of go around and pick it up like this. Now, as soon as you do this and you get it all kind of picked up around, I just want you to work it for just a little bit, not too much. You want to try to handle this as little as possible because you're going to refrigerate it anyway. Now this is really, really tough. Don't be alarmed. It's a really tough dough. All right. So you're going to squish it down and then cover it with your plastic wrap on both sides. And then I take the sides and I tuck them under. And while it's in the plastic wrap, I'm going to shape it. Now you're just gonna press down and I'm gonna form it into a square, just so it's a little bit easier to roll. And then this is going to get popped in the refrigerator for 2 to 2.5 hours. All right, so you wanna just let it chill out. You can, you know, clean up, do your dishes, get your other stuff prepared. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pop this in the refrigerator and then I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna start my filling, getting all of those ingredients out and getting them ready. And then we're gonna come back, we're gonna roll out the dough and we're gonna get everything together, so don't go away. Okay, we're back. And what I'm going to do now is I've got the refrigerated dough still kind of chilling in the refrigerator. It's almost there. So I'm going to go ahead and make the cream cheese filling. Now you only need 2 simple ingredients for this. There's many different types of cream cheese filling that people use in like pastries and danishes and things like that. I just use 2 simple ingredients, and that's cream cheese and honey. Now this honey, actually, my uncle harvested this honey, so he harvests honey from, and it's called Mohole No Honey. So it's amazing. Thank you, Uncle Ken, for the honey. So I have got 8 ounces of cream cheese here in a bowl. Now I've gone ahead and just let it soften. I took it out earlier and I've just let it sit on the counter in a bowl and it softens right up. Now if you haven't had a chance to do that and say your dough is ready and you want to get going, you're like, oh, the cream cheese still isn't soft enough, just zap it in the microwave for about 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds, and it should soften right up for you, okay? So all I'm going to do with this is I am going to add about a tablespoon or so. I'm not gonna really measure. So good. Okay, so what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I've got, like I said, about a tablespoon or so of honey into the cream cheese, and I'm just gonna go ahead. Now you can use your mixer if you want, but I find just doing this by hand, if the cream cheese is soft enough, is completely fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and just mix this together. I have just a small little wooden spoon here. You can use a spatula, or like I said, you can put it right through your beaters if you want to and really mix it well. The only other thing that I would recommend adding to this, if you wanted to, is a little bit of vanilla. Now I've got some homemade vanilla, and sometimes I add it and sometimes I don't. It just really kind of depends. Where some of my jams that I'm gonna put in here, they're all homemade and I have infused some of them with vanilla. I'm gonna leave it out today. But if you're not going to do that, if you've got some other jam in your refrigerator or whatever and you want that, just that little extra punch of flavor, just add about a half a teaspoon of vanilla to this mixture, or a teaspoon. You can never go wrong with vanilla, so add as much as you want, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and whip this up, and it's already softening. Now the reason why I don't add egg and I don't add white sugar and I don't whip it and whip it and whip it is because we're adding jam to this. Now jam is super sweet anyway, so you don't need any more added sugar with the cream cheese. The cream cheese is just gonna be your nice little bottom base to kind of hold your jam together so it doesn't kind of ooze out everywhere. So this cream cheese is just acting as that base. So I just sweeten it just a hair with honey. And the honey just brings out the natural flavor in the cream cheese and just makes it super rich, okay? So it kind of counteracts against the sweetness of the jam. So you've got like a little sweet, a little rich, plus the pastry, the puff pastry. Oh my goodness, it's just gonna be so delicious. Now you can kind of see in this mixture here that it's nice. I got it all over my thumb, but that's okay. What would it be without making a little bit of a mess when you cook, right? So I've just kind of hand whipped this up, and that cream cheese is perfect consistency. So you can just kind of see it's just nice and creamy right off the, that's exactly what you want, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of continue to make sure that all the bubbles and the little bumps and everything are out of my cream cheese by just stirring this a little bit more. And then we're gonna take out the pastry dough out of the refrigerator and we're gonna roll it out and then put everything together.